Well, good afternoon or good evening, everyone, wherever you are. Thanks for tuning in to our first online information session of the summer, Registration 101. We're certainly happy that you've joined us this evening, but even more excited that you're going to be joining us this fall here on campus as part of the class of 2019, Case Western Reserve University. And my name is Michael Mason. I am the Associate Dean for First Year Students in the Office of Undergraduate Studies. And here with me this evening,
I'm Nancy DiUlio, the Senior Associate Dean in Undergraduate Studies, and I too want to welcome you to the Case Western Reserve University community and look forward to meeting you this fall.
So we've got some really great information for you tonight to share. We've got some topics that we want to review, some important dates and deadlines to cover. We're going to talk a little bit just kind of in general about the different, or about basics about degree requirements and majors. We'll talk about SAGE's seminars and general education requirements. The first year registration guide, which is going to be a great resource to you throughout the summer and into your first year. We'll highlight some sections in there for you to pay attention to. We'll get into some information about course registration. But most importantly, we do want to spend some time tonight answering your questions. So tonight, as you're watching the session, anything that pops into your mind, any question that you have that you would like to have answered during the session tonight, all you have to do is send a quick email to summerreghelp@case.edu with the subject line info session, and we'll be sure to read that tonight and answer it for you. So definitely you can start sending in questions now, or as the session goes on, as you see the different topics that are being covered, that may generate some questions for you. So feel free to comment and chime in with questions at any time. So starting off with some important dates and deadlines, because as you know, the new student checklist is up and running, and there are lots of different things that you need to take care of on the checklist throughout the summer. But at the moment, focusing on the things that are related to academics and registration, I just wanted to point out to you that hopefully by now you've taken care of the APIB scores portion of the checklist, as well as the evaluation of college credit. If you haven't gotten to that yet for whatever reason, you can still do it. But we really want to get those taken care of as soon as possible so that we, get everything in order prior to registration. Due on June 15th, so coming up in the next few days, is the math diagnostic. And that's something that every student needs to take. I know some of you out there may be thinking to yourselves, well, I'm planning on getting credit for a particular math course, and that's great. But still, every student incoming to Case Western Reserve University needs to take that math diagnostic. It's a 60-minute timed exam that you can do right on the checklist. It's real easy to do, so if you haven't done that yet, please do so as soon as you can. Coming up at the beginning of July, you'll need to make sure that you've taken the opportunity to respond to the writing prompt and do your SAGE's for seminar self-placement. If you are planning on taking a foreign language in the fall, if it's one of the 5 that we offer placement tests for, it's Spanish, French, German, Russian, or Chinese. Take those placement exams. Again, there's no university-wide language requirement, so it's not required that you take a language. And if you're planning on taking a language that doesn't have one of those placement tests, you don't need to take a placement test. But for those of you who are planning on doing so, please do that. And also there's an information for advisor survey on the checklist that you need to complete by July 1st. And that survey is really important for us as we go through the process of looking over your fall semester schedules, and also in preparing to hand information over to your first year advisor who you'll meet during orientation. Getting that information for advisor survey is really important for that piece. The big, topic that might be on your mind at the moment is registration for courses, and that is beginning on July 9th and running through the 14th. After the registration period is concluded, we will take some time to sit down and literally review each of your schedules one by one. So Undergraduate Studies reviews your schedule individually and reaches out to you if there are any concerns about the schedule that you put together for yourself. And then after that process is concluded, you'll go through the process of choosing a SAGE's first seminar. So with all that said, I'm going to turn it over to Dean DiUlio, who's going to give you some basic information about degrees and SAGE's.
Great, thanks. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what's a degree and what's a major. So the first thing to keep in mind is that when you come to Case Western Reserve and you're pursuing your major area of academic interest, that's a piece of the work that you need to do to earn your degree from the university. But in addition to your major courses, you need to take some courses in some other areas. I think it's really important that you take this opportunity to explore some other disciplines around that will complement the skills you're learning in your major. So the first thing that you should note as you're looking at this slide is that different majors require different numbers of credit hours. Many degrees require you to earn 120 total credits over the course of your 4 years with us at the university, some up to 133. The specific number depends on the specific discipline that you're pursuing. In addition, we have a GPA requirement for all students to earn their diploma. We have a residency requirement, residency meaning a number of credit hours that you need to take at the university. We also have a SAGES seminar requirement, which we're going to discuss a little bit more in just a moment. And all students, no matter what degree they're pursuing, have to complete some physical education coursework. In addition, we have general education requirements. Usually we refer to these as breadth requirements, sometimes called the core requirements, depending on your curricula. And those are specific depending on what your major field of study is going to be. Then finally, well, not finally, then next you have your specific major requirements that you need to complete. Those will be within your discipline, so potentially biology or chemical engineering or history, whatever that may be. And then finally, once you complete all of those things, you still have room to take a few more courses to meet those total credit hour requirements. And in this case, you might have open electives, meaning you can take courses in whatever discipline you would like to pursue, or you might be able to take some courses and complete a minor in addition to your major, or maybe even a second major. So I mentioned as the degree requirements for all undergraduates at Case Western Reserve University, SAGES. So what is this SAGES? SAGES is a term we use that refers to the seminar approach to general education and scholarship. In this case, this is a series of coursework that you're going to be in that will focus on a broad array of skills and knowledge, communication, and just learning to be a part of the intellectual life of the university. So all students will take a series of seminar courses. These are small courses limited to 17 students in enrollment, in which you'll be working on these various skills. So all students come in, will take a first seminar this fall semester. That's your first seminar in the SAGES curriculum, where you'll be focused on some presentation skills, participating in seminar discussion, and writing intensively. That first seminar is followed up by 2 university seminars. These seminars are going to be in different topic areas, but once again, we'll really focus on building those skills of participating in discussions, presentations, and writing intensively. So you have a 3-semester sequence of seminars, first seminar followed by 2 semesters of university seminar coursework, in which you'll really be working and developing your communication skills on all fronts. No matter what major area you choose to study, communication skills are going to be fundamental. That's followed up by a departmental seminar. So whatever your discipline is, you're going to take a seminar course in that discipline to learn the communication styles of that particular discipline. And then finally, all students have to complete a senior capstone course. And that senior capstone course is the chance for you to take all that you've learned in your first 3 years at the university and put it together in a senior project that's going to be discipline specific and allow you to communicate your ideas to the university community. I want to note that all first-year students will take a first seminar in the fall semester. That's going to be a course that's limited to 17 students. Currently, if you log into SIS and look at your schedule, you'll see a course already there. And that course is FSCC 850. It's on your schedule, then it's reserving the time for what's called the 4th hour of your first seminar SAGES course. This 4th hour is blocked on Monday and Wednesday over the lunchtime period. Once you get registered for your first seminar, you'll actually only have 4th hour on one of those days, not both Monday and Wednesday, just Monday or Wednesday. And this time block, this lunchtime time block, is actually a critical piece of the first seminar experience. As a group, you and your other students in your same seminar section will be taking field trips potentially to the Cleveland Museum of Natural History, maybe other places in the Cleveland area. You'll be having speakers that you'll be hearing about various topics and so on. So this is a class meeting time in addition to your other class meeting times for your seminar. So I also mentioned when we talked about the pieces of a degree from Case Western Reserve, the general education requirements. So all students have to complete the SAGES seminars that we just discussed, and physical education. Yes, we're serious. You have to take phys ed courses. And in addition to that are breadth requirements. And the breadth requirements that you have to take, the specifics of this are determined by your school or being part of the College of Arts and Sciences. And those breadth requirements are designed to help you explore outside of your major area of interest. So all students have to take some arts and humanities courses, some social science courses. All students need to take some natural sciences or mathematical science courses. If you're in arts and sciences, you specifically need a course that meets the quantitative reasoning requirement. Also, if you're in arts and sciences, you need what's called the Global and Cultural Diversity course. And these are courses that are designed to look at cultural diversity from all around the world. In the engineering school, these breadth requirements are built in addition to the core requirements of the engineering degrees. Those core requirements of the engineering degrees are going to include chemistry, physics, and math. So there you'll be meeting your natural and mathematical sciences requirements, but you still need to take some courses that are going to be in arts and humanities and or social sciences.
So now that we've covered the basics of the degree requirements, general education, I want to talk a little bit about the first year registration guide, which should help you start to figure out how all of this kind of fits into the schedule that you might be thinking about for the fall semester. And the first year registration guide is a document that we produce and we update each year that includes a lot of information that's going to be really helpful to you as you're thinking about how to put a schedule together for the fall. So if you haven't accessed it yet, all you need to do is go into the new student checklist, go to the first year registration item under the academic advising section of the checklist, and click on the registration guide. It's a PDF. You can download it and save it. And once you do that, then you'll also be able to start logging into SIS and use the SIS tools to start planning your course schedule. But the sections that I want to highlight, first of all, is the schedule recommendations for all majors. So any major that you're considering, you will find in the registration guide a fall and spring sample schedule that you can look at. And as you're looking at those sample schedules, you can figure out, based on what's recommended and also based on any kind of credit that you might be bringing with you, what sort of courses you should be thinking about taking in the fall semester. You should also note that in addition to a grid that shows a sample fall and spring schedule, there are also notes that are accompanying those grids. And it's important to know that those notes that are on the grids in the first year registration guide are notes that were passed along by the faculty advisors in those different disciplines. So you can be assured that the information that's being conveyed to you through the registration guide is coming directly from faculty advisors in those departments. We also list information about the general education requirements by school or college. So again, if you were planning on pursuing a major that was in the College of Arts and Sciences, you could see what the general education requirements are for that school or college. And that way, if there's a block within the schedule grid that says you should take a general education course, you can just reference those general education requirements and find out, what constitutes an arts and humanities course, or what constitutes a social science course, or a quantitative reasoning course, and use that to help you figure out what options you might have for courses in the fall. There's also a couple pages of frequently asked questions. And the frequently asked questions, I think, are really helpful in just kind of getting a broad understanding of the different things that may come up as you're going through the process of registering. Things like, what's a prerequisite? What's a co-requisite? What's a credit hour? And what does that mean for me when I'm thinking about my schedule? Those kind of basic questions you can find answers to in the FAQ section. The shopping cart is a tool in SIS that you can actually use to go through and preview all the courses that are offered, the times, the days. You put those courses into your shopping cart, and by doing that, you can actually see what your fall semester schedule would look like. There are step-by-step instructions with screenshots in the registration guide that shows you how to fill your shopping cart. And also, once the time arrives, it'll actually show you how to take courses from your shopping cart and actually enroll in them when the registration period opens. But I can't stress enough the importance of getting started as soon as you can with filling the shopping cart with courses. If for no other reason, just to understand how the tool works. We certainly don't expect you at this moment in time to plan out your entire fall semester schedule. You have a little bit less than a month, or maybe a little bit more than a month to get that straightened out before you actually go and register. But now's the time to start experimenting and looking at the fall schedule of classes and seeing what's available, seeing what's out there, and start planning by using the shopping cart tool. There's also information in there about how to select courses that are part of sequences. We know students who are taking courses in math or chemistry and physics will notice that there are different varieties of math courses or different sequences that they could take within math, chemistry, and physics. So we've included some special sections in the registration guide that explain how you choose a course within a sequence, or how you decide which sequence is right for you depending on your intended area of study. There's also a lot of additional information for anybody who's thinking about participating in things like, say, a musical ensemble, or is participating in varsity athletics and wants to know how to get that to count for physical education, or even wants to know how the physical education requirement works and what courses are available to them. Information about for students who are interested in things like study abroad, research, for pre-health majors, so things like pre-med, pre-dentistry, pre-veterinary science, those sort of things. Any scheduling consideration that you can think of, you could be assured that we've thought of it too, and we have included information about it in the registration guide. So based on the registration guide and everything we've told you so far, that still may not necessarily tell you, in your mind, how will I know what classes I should take? So let me just kind of walk you through the basic thought process or procedure for developing a schedule. First and foremost, obviously, you need to spend some time thinking about what your academic interests are. And as I say, thinking about your academic interests, I realize that most of you out there, you applied to Case Western Reserve University, maybe with a particular major in mind. But just get comfortable with the fact that, between now and the start of classes, or even between now and the end of your first year, that can all change. And you're at a moment in time where it's great to explore all the options. So my first recommendation to you would be to spend a little bit of time before you delve into major specific things. Take a moment and look at the list of majors and minors that are listed in the first year registration guide. And there's also a section in the first year registration guide that shows the different, just a kind of a survey of fall semester course offerings. Spend some time looking through those lists and see what jumps out at you. See what kind of courses sound like they would be really cool to take in the fall. Or, take a look through the list of majors and, ask yourself, have I considered this? Have I considered that? Make sure you've taken some time to preview what's available to you. View the registration help videos. The registration help videos are another source of information that's coming directly from faculty who advise in the different departments. And I think all of those videos are now available to you through the same link that you used to get to this video. So take a moment and spend some time looking at those videos. Listen to the faculty that are presenting in those videos and the advice that they're giving. And my other, tip, if you will, with regard to the registration help videos, is not to limit yourself solely to the video that's associated with your intended major. So if you're thinking you may want to study engineering in the fall, certainly you would want to watch the appropriate engineering registration help video. But odds are, not odds are, you will be taking some math and physics and chemistry courses. So the natural sciences video is going to have lots of helpful information about how to select a math or science course for the fall. But also, odds are you're going to be taking some general education courses, or maybe you're interested in a minor. So watch the videos from the different departments that are associated with any other academic interests that you might have. Don't just, settle for the video that's, directly connected to the major you want to study. use this as an opportunity to explore it. Use these videos as rich sources of information for helping you do that. Again, the schedule recommendations are on the FYR guide. You can use the AP, IB credit information that's in the registration guide to kind of determine where you're at with any kind of expected credit and use that to help you plan courses for the fall. And again, use the schedule of classes that you can access through SIS to explore classes, because not only can you explore what courses are offered and what days and times they're offered, but as you click on the highlighted, the hyperlink information in the schedule of classes, you can read course descriptions, which can be really helpful in deciding whether or not a course might be right for you, but also prerequisite information, because there are certain courses that require you have a certain background knowledge in the form of a course prerequisite, which you can identify by looking at that prerequisite information in the schedule of classes course details. But most importantly, after you spent time reading things in the registration guide or viewing videos, we know that you're probably going to have more questions that you've generated for yourself, and you want to have somebody answer for you individually. So we ask that you just call us, call the Office of Undergraduate Studies. Our phone number is on the slide, or it's all over our website, all over the registration guide, or just send a quick email to summerreghelp@case.edu. And you can rest assured that you have staff in the Office of Undergraduate Studies who are ready and waiting to help you and answer your questions and do everything they can to make sure that you feel comfortable with this process. The last thing I want to mention, because the questions do come up from students from time to time about, how will I be advised? How will I be advised during the summertime? And how will I be advised throughout my first year at Case Western Reserve University? And you can be assured that at Case Western Reserve University, we take the role of academic advising incredibly seriously, and we do a lot through various avenues and with various members of our campus community to make sure that we provide good and helpful academic advising throughout your time at Case Western Reserve. But for the moment, the Office of Undergraduate Studies is the office that's primarily going to be working with you in advisory capacity during the summertime. So for the moment, the first year registration guide is a good resource. And again, as I mentioned, the registration guide schedule recommendations and the notes that go along with those were directly created in consultation with faculty advisors from those various departments. Again, the registration help videos feature faculty who advise in the various departments, so another source of advisory information. The undergraduate studies staff, again, we're here standing by, ready to help you and address any questions that you might have. You will meet with your academic advisor during orientation week, so you can be assured that this process of creating a schedule for yourself in the summertime is really your first pass effort. And so, you don't have to worry about getting it 100% right or 100% settled at this moment in time. All we're asking you to do at this moment is to do your best to identify and register for the courses you think you will take in the fall, knowing that we as a staff will review your schedule after you've created one and reach out to you if there are any questions about it, but also that you'll have an opportunity to sit down one-on-one with your advisor during orientation week and make any last-minute adjustments that you might need to make before classes actually get started. What we've found over the time that we've been doing this process is that most of our students, a vast majority of our students, do a really great job of getting themselves registered for a set of courses that works for them and makes sense. And then once you get here on campus, throughout the fall semester and throughout your first year and throughout the rest of your time, you'll be working with faculty advisors, either as your first year advisor through the SAGES program or with department advisors in the various departments, either as you're in the process of deciding on a major or even once you've declared, you'll be assigned to a faculty advisor in the department that you want to major or minor in. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dean DiUlio, and she's going to just walk us through a couple sample schedules that you might find in the first year registration guide and kind of explain how you make sense of those.
Okay. So looking at the first year registration guide, you'll see some sample schedules there across all of the majors that are open to you. So whatever discipline you might be interested in, you're going to be able to find that discipline listed. And you'll notice a couple things when you look at those sample schedules. We've laid out sample courses for both the fall and the spring semester. So note that when you register coming up here in just about a month, you're registering for your fall courses. Sometime around October, November, you're going to register for your spring courses. So we're really just going to focus on the fall semester at the moment. So the first example sample schedule we have up for you is aerospace engineering. So if we focus in a little bit on the fall semester, what you can see is your schedule is set up listing for aerospace engineering, listing first off your SAGES First Seminar. As I mentioned before, all students will be enrolled in a SAGES First Seminar for this fall semester. And then after that, you can see the recommendations around other courses. The next line lists a math course. You have many options to choose from in terms of math courses, but the determination depends on your math diagnostic exam, which is due on June 15th, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you get that done by June 15th. And it also depends on if you're coming in with AP credit for a calculus course, for example, if you have IB scores or any other placement credit that puts you into a math course. So you'll be choosing what math course to start with based on where you are coming out of high school. So it could be anywhere from starting in Calc 1 to Calc 3, wherever you may end up is going to be appropriate. You should note that if you look at the 2-semester breakdown for aerospace engineering, you'll see that in the second semester is listed the next math course in the math sequence. Engineering students are going to have a 4-semester sequence of math, and so you'll just, wherever you begin, you'll just move on to that next step. The next course that's listed is Chem 111. So for engineering majors, it's really important that you take this course, Principles of Chemistry for Engineers, in your first semester. It's a foundational course and a prereq for other courses that are going to follow on. But once again, you may have AP credit for chemistry, so you may not actually enroll in Chem 111. The second course in the chemistry sequence for engineers is Engineering 145. It's called Chemistry of Materials. You may take Engineering 145 in the place of Chem 111, depending on coming in with credit. But this chemistry course is a foundational course for all engineers, so it's a great place to start. Next up, you see you have some options. Some students will take physics in their first semester. Other students will take a computer programming course. The choice between those is really based on your preference, except a couple of majors are going to have a specific recommendation there. So when you look at the proposed schedule grids for, say, mechanical engineering, you'll see a note right under that grid that gives you some advice on focusing on the physics first, as Physics 1 Mechanics is so foundational to mechanical engineering, as an example. And then, of course, there's a phys ed course added in there. So the engineering majors, whatever field of engineering you choose, you can see that that first fall semester is going to be pretty structured. You're going to have a SAGES First Seminar, and then wherever you are in those sort of foundational sequences that are going to lead into your upper level engineering courses, that's where you're really going to start off. Now that schedule is a lot different than the next sample schedule we're going to look at, and this is an example for a student that might be considering majoring in psychology. And what you'll notice when you look at this schedule is that you have a lot of choices in the directions you want to go. So once again, the sample schedule lays out what you need to do for the fall semester and the spring semester. But let's just focus in on the fall for a moment. You'll have a SAGES First Seminar, of course. And then if you're interested in psychology, likely you're going to be taking a psychology course. And it could be the Introduction to Psychology course, Psychology 101. But once again, if you have credit for that course from previous experience, if you look at the sample schedule grid for the spring semester, you see that Psychology 101 is followed up with some other choices of courses. Any of those that are listed on that spring schedule grid could be moved into the fall semester if that's where your placement and your prior experience puts you. If once again we focus in on the fall semester for a moment, now you see that in slots 3, 4, and 5, we're listing arts and humanities courses, global and cultural diversity courses, and so on. This is where you have an opportunity to take some of those general education requirements or an open elective. Maybe you're intending to major in psychology, but you have some interest in biology. This would be a good chance to take a biology course in that slot. I hear that genes and evolution course is a pretty good one in the fall, so you might check it out.
True.
It's also a chance to explore some other disciplines. You might be intending to major in psychology, but this is a great opportunity to take a history course. A history course is going to fulfill one of your arts and humanities requirements as part of your general education requirements. So when you look at this schedule, you don't have a lot of specifics defined for you, but there are a whole host of courses that you might take in that first semester to explore your interest. Maybe you want to major in psychology, but you'd like to explore anthropology or bioethics, or take some music courses, or take some chemistry courses. Whatever that may be, you certainly have the opportunity to get those courses in. And rest assured that all of those choices that you make are going to be courses that are going to be meeting degree requirements. So whether it's chemistry or history or a music course or something in the engineering school, it's all going to be helping you move along towards your goals. I just want to make a brief note here. If you are an incoming student intending to study nursing, your nursing courses are going to be pre-registered for you. And we'll come back to that, a question about that in just a few moments.
The other thing I wanted to mention too about the course grids, the one thing that you'll notice is that pretty much all of them are in the 14 to 17 credit hour range. And we get the question a lot from students, how many courses should I be taking in the fall semester? What we really recommend for the first semester especially is something in the range of 14 to 17 credit hours, which usually comes out to be about 4 courses, maybe 5, depending on the number of credit hours associated with them. And some students will say, well, that doesn't seem like very much. I took 8 courses a semester while I was in high school. And we just have to remind everybody that, obviously the expectations with regard to how much time you're supposed to be spending on your courses, both in and out of class, studying for them and preparing for them, but also recognizing, just the acclimation period that's necessary when it comes to entering a university and getting used to, living on your own for the first time and being away from home and adjusting to a different set of expectations, but also getting involved with, other opportunities on campus that are outside of the classroom, clubs, organizations, co-curricular activities. Having a schedule that's in the 14 to 17 range, we've seen time and time again, is really what's going to lead to the greatest likelihood of academic success in the fall semester. Not only academic success, but personal satisfaction, giving you enough time to have a great academic experience, but also enjoy all the kind of fruits of the life in the university community here at Case Western Reserve. So I just wanted to mention that. Real quick before we get into questions, and we are going to get into questions in just a minute, I do want to wrap up with a few last comments. And again, send any questions you have at the moment to summeredgehelp@case.edu, and we'll do our best to get to them. But the tools for registration that you want to be sure that you're familiar with. Again, the student information system, which, once you download the registration guide, will become a live link for you in the checklist. Make sure you're logging in, playing around with the shopping cart, getting familiar with how it works, exploring course offerings and all that stuff. I do want to make a note that you do want to make sure that you log in after July 1st at least once between July 1st and the opening of registration on July 9th, because SIS is going to ask you to update your emergency contact information before it lets you do anything else. So in order to not have that be something that hangs you up before you get into registration on July 9th, just make sure you take a quick minute between July 1st and July 9th to log in and update your emergency contact info. The registration guide, as I mentioned numerous times, is a great tool for registration. The registration help videos, and also our online information sessions. This is the first of 3 that we're going to be doing this summer. We'll be doing another one right up, I think it's July 7th, the Tuesday before registration, so tune in for that. Again, the shopping cart. In our office, we have a staff who, again, is very, very eager to help you with any questions that you might have. So make sure that you're using us as a resource. And just one note about the shopping cart. You do, as you're using the shopping cart, want to make sure to make use of a feature that's called Validate. I've highlighted the button here on the screen for you. The Validate feature is something that you can use to make sure that there aren't going to be any issues with you enrolling in the particular courses that you're trying to enroll in. And you can read more about how that feature works in the registration guide in the shopping cart section. But I do just want to remind everybody that you do want to validate your shopping cart, a couple of days prior to registration, just because what you see right now in terms of course slots and availability may change. It likely won't change a whole lot, but we just, as a disclaimer, want to let you know that it's a good idea to take a moment to log in and do the validation at a point in time that's closer to the opening of registration, just to make sure everything is still good. And the other thing that you're going to notice when you do a validation is that, let's say right now, you put Math 122 in your shopping cart because you expect to get AP credit for Math 121. Right now, if we don't have your AP credit posted, you try to validate it, it's going to tell you you're not eligible to enroll in the course. Well, if you log in a day or two before registration, assuming you've done your part to make sure that your AP scores are going to be sent to us when they become available, then you'll be able to log in, validate, and it'll, give you a nice green check mark and say you're all good to go. Because typically we get the AP scores and IB scores right around July 1st, which gives us plenty of time to upload them and put the credits into SIS for you so that by the time you validate a day or two before registration opens, the credit's in there and the prerequisites recognized, and you're all set for registration. So wanted to mention that. So with all that, now it's Q&A time. So I know we've been getting some questions, and Dean DiIulio will lead us off here.
Absolutely. So let's start with a question that's come in from Elaine. And Elaine is a nursing major. And so Elaine tells us that she's learned that nursing courses and biology classes are preloaded, meaning the nursing students are pre-registered for those. She's trying to validate them on her shopping cart, and it says they need instructor permission.
Right.
Does she need to request that permission on the checklist, or will we take care of that for her?
Oh, that's a great question. So again, one of the features of being a nursing student in the fall semester is that, the courses that you would need to take as a first-year nursing student in the fall semester are all going to be pre-registered for you. So you don't have to worry about validating those. Those will just appear in your course schedule. And that should happen within the next 2 weeks. So by at the very latest by the end of June, but we hope, much sooner than that, when you log in SIS, you'll actually see in your course schedule the dates and times and sections for the Biology 114, Biology 116, and all the nursing courses that you need to take in the fall semester. The only thing that you would need to register for as a nursing student for the fall semester would be if you were planning on taking like a general education course or an elective course in addition to those nursing courses. And of course, the first seminar registration process, first seminar selection process will happen later in the summer. So you wouldn't worry about that at the moment. And that applies for all students, not just nursing majors. All students during the July 9th through 14th registration period will just register for everything but SAGES. And then SAGES course selection will happen after we've checked everybody's schedule. So right around the end of July, beginning of August, there'll be a separate process for selecting your first seminar, which you can read about in full detail in the first year registration guide.
All right. Our next question comes in from Jeff, and Jeff's question is, how do I know if a case has received my AB, IB, or other college credit scores, specifically AP scores? How will students know we have received them?
Great. It's another great question and a common one. So there's a couple different ways that you will know whether or not we've received your scores. So one of them will be through the new student checklist. If you look in the AB, IB score item on the new student checklist, anything that we've received to you to date should appear in that list of scores in that item. The other way that you can tell whether or not we've received your scores is there's also, if you log into SIS, on that front page of SIS, there's a little drop-down menu to the left of your fall semester schedule. And the drop-down menu, one of the options is course history. If you check course history, that will show you any AP, IB, or transfer credit that we've posted for you. So there would be a course showing, and it would have a grade of AP, IB, or TR for transfer. Most of you, even if you are expecting those scores or those credits, probably won't see anything at this moment. If today, the live viewing at least is June 10th. as we get closer to July 1st and right around July 1st when we receive those score files from the College Board or from the International Baccalaureate, that will all change. And a lot of you who have requested those scores be sent to us will see that credit posted shortly after July 1st. Right now, you probably won't see too much happening unless you just have scores from prior years that you've sent in early or credit that we've already evaluated.
All right. Our next question comes from David. And David's been looking at available classes, adding some to his shopping cart. So that's great. Good work, David.
Yeah.
But he's noticed that many of the phys ed classes are filled. So as an incoming first-year student, is it possible or advisable to take a phys ed course during that first semester?
Yeah. Another good question, another common question, and certainly, you're welcome to browse through the list of physical education courses, and if there are any that are available in the fall semester that you would be interested in taking that fit your schedule, by all means, you can sign up for them. But it's really not critical that you take one in your first semester. So we want to, reassure everybody that you have 4 years to complete your physical education requirement, and the physical education requirement is that you take the equivalent of 2 semesters of physical education before you graduate. So hopefully that kind of, helps you breathe a little bit and realize that if you can't get something in the fall semester, it's not to worry. You should have plenty of opportunities in future semesters. Now, to kind of, to play the other side of that, you don't want to wait until spring semester of your senior year to start your physical education courses, because trying to cram in the equivalent of 2 semesters worth of phys ed in your last semester is probably a risky proposition. But if you can't get something in the fall, don't worry. Realize that what's available at the moment may change once you come on campus in the fall. The first 2 weeks of the semester is called the drop add period. And during the drop add period, students can freely add and drop courses. And so some students who are currently enrolled in a phys ed course, some of the sophomores, juniors, seniors who are already registered, who are enrolled in phys ed courses, may drop them. And so you may see a phys ed course come available later on that you could enroll in. But again, if you can't find one for the fall at this moment in time, don't worry. There'll be plenty of opportunities to do that later on. And taking phys ed courses, usually they only meet twice a week for an hour, so it's not too hard to fit those in. They offer them in both first and second half semester courses, so you can take any combination of what they call A or B options. First 7 weeks, second 7 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And actually, we have a question from Elaine, who was asking. She wants to take weight training. She wanted to know if she had to enroll in both the A and B section of weight training. But as you mentioned, you can take the first half of weight training and follow it with the second half if you like, but that's not required. You don't even have to take the first half to take the second half of weight training. Yeah. So lots of good options around phys ed courses.
And a good observation there.
Oh, thank you. You mean by Elaine, not by me.
Yeah, but you too.
Yes.
Nice answer.
Thanks, Elaine. Thanks, Michael. All right. The next question we have comes in from Joe, who wants to know, what if I'm looking at a course that requires instructor consent? So what does Joe need to do to get that consent and get into that course?
Yeah, good question. There are a few of those courses out there. So if you come across a course that requires an instructor consent, the way to do that is to request it is to go into the first year registration item in the new student checklist, and there'll be a form that's called the schedule change request that you can submit to us, but you can't submit it yet. It's not live right now. And I say yet for those of you who are viewing this webinar live right now. The schedule change request form will become live in the new student checklist on July 1st. So anytime between now and then, you won't be able to submit that request, but right on July 1st, you can go on and submit that request. And that'll give us time to work that out to get you the consent that you might need to enroll in a particular course by the time the registration period opens.
All right. So changing topics just a little bit, we have from Serena. If Serena has an AP score that would give her credit for a particular course, can she still take the course when she matriculates to CASE this fall?
Yes. Another good question, another common question. And the answer is yes, of course. So AP credits, IB credits, transfer credits, for those of you who have them, and I don't mean this to sound as if every student has them, because certainly not everybody does. But for those of you who do, even if you have that credit, you may not necessarily, feel like you want to use that credit to move into the next level course. And that's okay. If you have credit for something, you're welcome to repeat it here. Just understand that if you do repeat it at Case Western Reserve, then that AP credit gets forfeited, and the course credit that you earn here and the grade that you earn here overwrites that AP credit in terms of your credits earned. So you're not going to earn credit for the course twice. But one of the strategies that I think many students will employ, and maybe kind of a general recommendation with regard to answering that question about should I or shouldn't I, is that assuming you feel comfortable with the background that you have in that course, you can try the next level of the course during the drop add period, with the understanding that if you get into that next level course and you realize that it's maybe a little bit more advanced than you were expecting, you can always drop back to the previous level course during the drop add period. That's what the drop add period's for. It's to give you an opportunity to kind of test drive different courses and figure out what's going to be right for you. So you'll have an opportunity to look at the syllabus, sit in the course for a week or two, talk to the instructor. I think talking to the instructor is going to be really critical, but there's an opportunity there for you to make adjustments later if you need to. But at this moment in time, you just kind of have to go with, I think, what your gut tells you. Mm-hmm. If you have any other thoughts on that, or
yeah, I think the time from when you've taken that AP course and considering moving on to the course that's going to require that knowledge, I think is key. Mm-hmm. So thinking about that and deciding, if you've taken AP chemistry, are you ready to move on to the next course in that sequence, or do you want to solidify that understanding a little bit? I think is where to really begin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the next question we have comes in from Rajiv. Rajiv is curious about the math diagnostic, and what does the math diagnostic cover? And I'm not sure we have exactly what questions are on it, but some ideas about getting ready to prepare for it.
Right. So the math diagnostic is really designed to help students determine where they should start their study of math at Case Western Reserve University. So it's really designed to help you decide whether, or help you figure out whether you should start, whether you're eligible to start in calculus and can start in one of the two Calculus 1 options for the fall semester, Math 121 or 125. Or it may suggest to you that you need to, rather than start in calculus, take Math 120, which is a pre-calculus course. And I think the important thing to know about the math diagnostic, well, two things. I think the most important thing is that, the diagnostic is not something that you should, prepare for necessarily. You want to take it and just let it help guide your course placement for the fall semester, because it doesn't matter where you begin. It just matters, where you finish and how you do along the way. So we just want to make sure that you get into the right level of course. And that's what the math diagnostic will tell you. Now, for some students, they're going to take the math diagnostic and it's going to place them into Calculus 1, but then they're going to say, well, I have AP credit for that already. Does my credit place me higher than that? And the answer is yes. The math diagnostic is, like I said, it's only going to tell you, Math 120 or Math 121/125. Any placement beyond that might be determined by, credit. And again, which of those calculus courses is best for you is going to be determined by the major that you're intending to study. Again, there's a whole section about how to choose the right calculus course for you in the registration guide, and also a pretty good discussion, well, I shouldn't say pretty good, a really good discussion about it in the Math and Natural Sciences registration help video too. So those are two good sources to consult there. But just understanding that, it's, again, all about getting you into the right course for the fall, because what is more important than the courses you take is just making sure that you have a really great fall semester in terms of your academics.
All right. Our next question comes in from Sarah, And Sarah's wondering, she's interested in 2 courses, but those courses are offered at the same time.
Mm.
So can she register for both?
Mm-hmm.
I might rephrase that and say, should she register for both?
Well, I guess, yeah, there's 2 ways to answer that question. So, one question would be, or I'm sorry, one answer would be, no, you can't take 2 courses at once because you can only be in one place at a time. And obviously, course attendance is supremely important for your college experience. You really have to be in class every day, prepared to take notes, to engage in discussions, to ask questions, to participate in activities. So to have you registered for 2 courses at the same time would be essentially counterproductive. But beyond that, from the technical aspect, SIS simply won't let you do it. So if you have 2 courses that you really want to take, and they're only offered at one time and they're offered at the same time, I guess the maybe unfortunate response there is that you're going to have to choose one. And very rarely, if ever, have I seen a situation where a student had to choose between 2 courses that were offered at the same time, and they absolutely had to have both of those courses in that same semester, and so that it was creating some sort of issue. That won't happen for you. But if you run into a situation where you're having trouble deciding, or you're looking through the schedule of classes and something just doesn't seem right to you, this doesn't make sense, easiest thing to do is pick up the phone and call us or shoot us an email, summer@chelp@case.edu, and we will help you sort that out.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is if you have, you're looking at these 2 courses and you have to choose one, remember you have 8 semesters. And the one that you don't get to take in your first semester, you're going to be able to get into it at a later point in time. But the scheduling of courses that first-year students are enrolled in is really done pretty carefully, so that courses that are required that you really need to get in that first semester are not going to be scheduled at the same time. They are going to be scheduled in alternative time slots. So we're pretty confident that you're going to get in the courses you're required to get in.
Oh, yeah. And on that note, I should say, too, that, we mentioned the schedule change request before in the context of requesting permission or consent for a course that requires it. But the schedule change request form is also the tool that we use for any student who is trying to register for a course and that course is closed and, they're not able to get enrolled in it, but they actually really, really need it for the fall semester. So we do everything within our power, and we've been incredibly successful in making sure that students get the courses that they need to make progress in their intended area of study in the fall semester. I honestly can't think of an instance where we haven't been able to do that. We can't necessarily guarantee you that you will get into the course at the exact time that you want. So if there are, let's say, multiple labs and there's an early morning lab and you're not an early morning person, but the spot's available in the early morning lab, get yourself a good alarm clock and make sure you get to sleep on time, because in some cases, there just isn't a lot of wiggle room. But again, we do everything in our power to make sure you get all the courses that you need. The other thing I wanted to mention, too, is that there was a question on the comments page that I just noticed that was asked about, trying to place out of courses that the student feels that they may already, understand the material and be able to move on from, and whether or not that will impact their, choices for the fall semester when they go to register. So I assume that question might be in reference to the proficiency exams that are offered in some of the different subjects. And what I can tell you is that, again, for AP, IB, or transfer credit that is, submitted to us on time, all that credit will be posted by the time you go to register so that you'll be able to use those courses as prerequisites. But for those of you who might be thinking about taking a proficiency exam when you come to orientation in the fall, what you need to do for the initial registration period, July 9th through the 14th, is register for the course that you're placed into either through the diagnostic or just based on having whatever credit is posted for you at that moment in time. Knowing that, again, you can take proficiency exams during the orientation period, and we will know very shortly after you take the exam whether or not you're going to earn credit for the course, and then can make sure you get your schedule adjusted during the drop add period. So again, just register for what you have credit for or prerequisites for at this moment in time, knowing that we can make adjustments later on if needed.
Great. I have a question from Delara, who wants to know, do I have to take a math class if I'm intending to study a humanities or social sciences major?
Yes, and thank you for asking that question, because I really did mean to address this before, but
Yes, this is a very important
me,
question.
I like to talk, and I just kind of got lost in my own train of thought. So no, you do not have to take a math course. So we have all students take the math diagnostic as a matter of course, but that does not mean that you have to take a calculus course in the fall or a pre-calculus course in the fall if the area of study that you're planning on pursuing has no math requirement. Now, you could take math, let's say Calculus 1, as your quantitative reasoning or as a math and natural science course for general elective credit. That's certainly an option for you, but there are other sorts of options available to you within the math and natural sciences and within the quantitative reasoning requirements. So if you're not a calculus person, you just don't want to deal with calculus, you don't have to take it. You know, that's not something that you are required to do as some sort of university-wide calculus requirement or something like that. So thank you for asking that question. Happy to clarify that.
All right, excellent. We have a question, it's probably going to be our last question for the evening, that's come in from Monica. And Monica has a question about the letter to your first year advisor. And Monica says, you know, she could write a lot to this person, but wants to know who's going to be reading this letter and what are they trying to learn from the letter that students write to their academic advisor.
Well, that's a really great question, and let me say two things before I answer the question. The first is that if we didn't get to your question tonight, don't be discouraged. You know, we will get to your question at some point in the very near future. So if you asked us a question and we weren't able to answer it on air tonight, we will follow up with your question still individually, just through email instead of during this webcast. So don't worry about that. The second is, I just want to say how much I've enjoyed answering these questions, because these are really good questions. And I'm, I guess, particularly happy to be able to answer this question, because I think it's a great point to depart with, is that, you know, as I mentioned before, you know, academic advising here at Case Western Reserve University, we recognize how important that is to your success as an undergraduate here at the university. And so if you feel like you could write a novel to your first year advisor, by all means, do it.
Right.
The more we know about you, you know, the better. The more your advisor knows about the things that you're interested in studying, you know, the things that you're concerned about, the goals that you're setting for yourself, the better they're going to be able to help you. And so as to who's reading this, well, our office, the staff in our office is going to read this as we work to review your the schedule you've created for yourself, just to kind of see how what you've done in terms of your schedule matches up with what your interests are and your goals are, and that way we can reach out to you if there are any discrepancies there or any question marks. But beyond that, the coordinator of your first year residential college, who is a member of our undergraduate studies staff, who's there to provide you with academic and personal support throughout your first year, will take a glimpse at this. And also, your first year advisor is going to take a look at it as well. And again, the purpose of this is really to, have us help you in the best way that we can. The more we know about you, the better. So by all means, I hope you'll take this opportunity seriously and make the most of it and share with us everything that you think we should know about you.
Yeah, and I think that those the information you provide to your first year advisor in terms of your long-term interest and your goals is really going to help them when they're meeting with you to guide you toward those goals. So I think at this point we're just about out of time. So I just want to say that thank you so much for emailing in your questions, and reiterate, if we didn't get a chance to answer your question on air, you'll get a response shortly likely first thing in the morning, if not sooner. So thank you so much for emailing those in, and I look forward to meeting you all. Dean Mason?
And I would just, echo that and say that thank you so much for watching and for sending in these questions. And also just keep in mind that we'll have another session on July 7th that we hope you'll tune in for. But certainly throughout the summer and definitely into the first year and throughout the first year, we hope and we expect and we look forward to meeting you and interacting with you and welcoming you to our community. But doing everything that we can to make sure that your first year here at Case Western Reserve is the absolute best that it can be. So again, thanks, and we look forward to seeing you soon.